would you show up to a first date in sweats and your weekend t-shirt and your slides, right? Like you're ready for Saturday morning coffee and just kind of
Yeah,
relax, and like, would you take that attitude to a first date? Of
yeah,
course not, right? You'd get all night, you'd probably go buy a new shirt, right? So
yeah.
put that thought and effort into your resume. This is the biggest peeve of mine when taking an interview. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to demonstrate. They're taking their interview like this, and I feel like I need Dramamine to complete this interview, right? You've had these. You're laughing because
Oh
you've
my
had these.
gosh. Yes.
Set the phone down.
Did you not look at my LinkedIn profile? Like it'll
Yeah.
clearly tell you like I've been here for a year and 8 months or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever the
This,
time is. Like don't ask
yeah.
questions that you can find the answers to on your own. If
Yes.
you do,
Yes.
like some people say no question is a dumb question. Yes, there are dumb questions and
Thousand
don't
percent.
ask them.
Yes.
Fantastic. So I'm very excited today to introduce Jordan Sinquefield to the podcast. This is the Jobseekers Playbook. And super excited to have Jordan because if you follow Jordan on LinkedIn, he has a ton of amazing content. He's trying to help job seekers be really successful, and it's really practical advice that job seekers are constantly just stumbling over. And that's why we've created this podcast. We want to help
Yeah.
you find a job, do it the right way, and help you be successful. So what I love
Mhm.
about Jordan is, currently at Nice. Nice is a phenomenal company. We'll talk about it. I used Nice when I was back at eBay in our customer experience department, gaining analytics
Yep.
and insights
Yep.
that were extremely helpful. It's a very powerful platform. So that's cool. You get to be part of, if you're part of that company, there's so
Yep.
many cool things you can do that way. But Jordan has this great blend of in-house recruitment and agency staffing recruitment, heavy on the technology side, but also
Mhm.
in manufacturing side. So a little bit of everything. So, Jordan, welcome to the show. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming on.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Cool. Cool. Exciting. So, Jordan, maybe to just kick things off, I think candidates and job seekers, it's really important for them to understand the company culture,
Mhm.
the values, the mission, the purpose, all those kind of things. Like as a candidate seeking a job, you shouldn't just be going after any job. You should be finding
Mhm.
out what is the right fit for you. So,
Yeah.
could you just share a little bit about Nice and the
Sure.
culture, the environment, the employee value proposition, maybe some of that stuff
Yeah.
that you found that you enjoy?
This is one thing that I love discussing with all my candidates, is company culture, because I think NICE does it different than most people, right? I always find it funny when companies are like, "Oh, we do it different than everybody else," and I'm like, "Oh, well, somewhere in the world, someone does something similar, right?" So, but I think NICE does company culture very well. NICE is a very large organization. We're about 10,000 employees worldwide. We make a lot of different things, actually. A lot of people don't realize that they've used NICE's platform in one way or another, probably this week, right? Without even noticing. Excuse me. And so what that means is, like you said, you worked at eBay with the call centers. We make call center software, customer experience software, government software such as compliance, financial crime detection software with our company back east. We have an AI company we're starting in Atlanta that's opening up soon. Um, really, we take the customer experience and remove the friction between the company and the end user. So things like that. That's typically what we make, and we don't have enough time on the podcast to deep dive into everything that NICE does. But the one thing that I think we do very well, minus on the technology side, is the employee side, and that is culture for sure. One of the things when I was looking to leave my last employment was definitely heavy on the culture, especially for me, because I wanted a place where I could land that had opportunity for me to not be bored and be stagnant, because when people get bored
Okay.
and stagnant, they start looking for new opportunities, right? The second that little bump in the road hit, they're like, oh, well, the grass is greener somewhere else. When I interviewed with MJ Townsley, Tyler Ray, and Courtney Ochoa, who've been in the industry long time, they're super knowledgeable people. All three told me the same thing. They said, hey, look, we have everything. We have the ping pong tables, we have the video games, we have the fun company events. our company goes above and beyond to make sure we feel valued in terms of prizes, so on and so forth. Because I don't want to spend my time talking about that. I want to spend my time talking about you and your goals and aspirations and where you want to be. And I was like, right as a candidate, you're like, oh, let me just verbally throw up on you what I want. Um, and so, that was one of the things that really spoke to me is they promised me growth and opportunity. And so, I asked them, hey, what does that look like? And they're like, oh, it comes in terms of, X, Y, and Z. And I was like, oh, okay. So we went and, dove deep on each one of those. And I was like, all right, well, so I accepted the job. And day one, I was like, all right, let's see if, proof's in the pudding. And, I've been at NICE about a year and a half. And not only do I do talent acquisitions, I'm also involved in a few different other things on the side, such as I took over new hire orientation. I'm helping create a recruiter's playbook, which hypothetically, this is the podcast that I'm on. And so, we're creating a recruiter's playbook for the entire organization of tips and tricks for us internally, and a few other things along the way without kind of going into those. But what the phrase that I've always been a fan of is closed mouths don't get fed. And so, if you really want something, make sure you have the skill set to do it and ask for it, right?
Yeah.
Put
Yeah.
it out there in the universe. Your boss doesn't know if you want to do something extra if you don't tell them.
Yes.
And so that's a little bit about NICE's company culture. We really want our employees to feel valued and respected and stay a long time. And a statistic I can put behind that I don't think a lot of companies can, come up with on the top of their head is, we have over 10,000 employees. Last year alone, we promoted we were just shy of 1,000 employees that were internally promoted. And
Wow.
so, that's 1/10 of our workforce that got new opportunities.
It's
So I
awesome.
think that's right. And we're on track to be that same this year. And so, nothing makes me happier as a recruiter to promote someone internally. So that's a little bit about our culture is I think we push people to be their best, the best version of themselves.
I love that. And I think as you look at exit survey data for companies and you're trying to understand, well, why are people leaving companies? One of the ones that's always at the top, right, is I just feel stagnant. I feel like I don't have the growth and development that I need. And
Yeah.
right off the bat, like that's something that NICE offered you coming
Hmm.
in, and then you put it to the test. And the list of things that you just listed off, all the things that you're involved in helping your growth and development, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So, sounds like a really good environment at NICE, but then also just for job seekers, making sure that they're thinking about, what is important to you. Is growth and development important to you? And when you're
Hmm.
going to research companies, how can you find out if the truth of what they're saying, and do they really provide career
Yeah.
growth and development? How do you do that? So thanks for sharing that. I think that's super cool. um, I was looking at a few of your posts recently, and I think one of the reasons why I got really excited to reach out to you and see if you'd come on the podcast is just you have really great practical advice for job seekers. And I think people just end up stumbling over
Hmm.
themselves, or they just don't know how to approach things. And so maybe, Jordan, we could talk about a few of your thoughts.
Sure.
You see candidates day in and day out, and you see what they're doing well, or maybe what they're not doing well. What are
Yeah.
some initial, secrets or advice that you'd have for job seekers coming in? Maybe we start there.
Yeah. I think one of the things, it's always funny where you try to prioritize these things because it's a whole bag of ideas. I think one of the top things is know your worth in the market. I think, right? I think you actually liked my comment on a colleague's post. And, you know, a few years ago, companies were paying 20, 30% or more just to get talent in the door,
Yeah.
and I think that really screwed up the market for some people because, right, we all have a dollar amount of what we're worth, right? Let's just call it like it is. You need to know what that dollar amount is. I have X skill set, X amount of years, and then do the research. Go to glassdoor.com, go to salary.com, search in senior product manager, Salt Lake City salaries, right? And then look at the ranges, look at people you're compared to. You know, I know what I'm worth in the market and what I should be making, right? Don't get me wrong, we'd all love to make an exuberant amount more of money, but you really do need to know what you're worth. And sometimes it's hard when a candidate doesn't know what they're worth, especially when they're applying for jobs, that they're either way below budget or they're way above budget. And it's nice to find the people that are right in between where the company want to pay, because there is a lot of good quality people that I'd love to interview, but I'm like, oh man, you're $40,000 above most every other person that I interview. And
Yes.
I don't see anything different on black and white of why we should pay you that 40 extra a year. Right. And so, that's one thing that I think a lot of candidates need to know is do some research. Make sure you're not, and make sure you're not underpaid. Right.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing. Um, if you know that the budget's 20K less than what you probably should be making, they want to offer you the job, don't be afraid to be like, hey, I did a little bit of research, I'd love to work for your organization, but it's a little low, and based on my findings, and present the findings, don't just
Yeah.
shoot in the wind. um, be like, hey, if you guys could actually meet the standards, I'd love to work for you. Right. So um, don't overshoot, but also, don't undervalue yourself, and know your worth in the market. I think that's one of the big things that not a lot of people do, is they just think, okay, well, I got paid X at my last job. Let's just add 15, 20% and see if I get it. Right.
Yeah.
It's a shoot in the dark game. And I think a lot of people shoot themselves in the foot by not actually knowing what they're worth, and, missing the boat on an opportunity that they could have had somewhere else.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I like what you're saying around being realistic about it too.
Yes.
Right. If you're like you said, everybody wants to make as much money as they possibly can.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna go crazy and be way outside what reality looks like,
Yeah.
that's really gonna hurt your chances, right?
Yeah. I think a second tip is, as crazy as this sounds, you think this would be the most obvious thing in the world. Update your resume. In this day and age, I probably this week have had 6 people not give me an updated resume. I'm like, oh, so tell me about your experience. You're still at X company, tell me about what you're currently doing on a 9 to 5. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, I haven't been there in like 4 months. And I'm like, oh, okay. Right. I mean, I can't disrupt the interview because they didn't update their resume, but it's like, for 4 months, you've not updated your resume, and you've been spamming a wrong resume to hundreds of employers. Like,
Yeah.
how have you not updated resume? And that to me, I'm like, it's not a big red flag, but it's definitely an earmark of like, did you not give attention to detail? Right? The most
Yes.
simplest thing in the world,
Yes.
attention to detail. Just put you
Yeah.
didn't work there. It doesn't matter.
It's
Updating your
crazy.
resume.
It's crazy. And that is a constant that you see.
Yeah.
And that probably transitions into LinkedIn too, right? Like making sure
Yes.
your LinkedIn profile is up to date. But I
Yeah.
mean, that's like one of the easiest things you can do. And job seekers are scratching their heads like, gosh, why is nobody contacting me? Or, it's
Yeah.
like, well, you're not even
Yeah.
putting a small amount, like it doesn't take a lot of effort. It just takes a little bit of effort.
Yeah.
So that could just be that what you're saying, like attention to detail, but
Yeah.
it's also just kind of a sign of laziness too.
Yes.
You get into an interview with somebody and it's like, oh, like you've been missing 4 months, 8 months, 10 months worth of work. It's like,
Yeah.
gosh, like that's
Yeah.
not a good predictor for future performance.
Yes. And I think one of the things that kind of transitions to as my next talking point is avoid the generic resume. If it looks generic to you, because I think it's funny because people are perfect twice in their life, once when they're born and once when they create their resume, right? I didn't have any issues at any job, right? I was great at every one of them. Avoid, right? It's kind of funny because we see it all the time.
For sure.
But avoid the generic resume. Take time, take pride in your resume. Go to a resume template. Don't be afraid to purchase, you know, a resume's website, or a website's resume that gives you a photo, helps you build out something different. Go above and beyond when building your resume, and actually take a deep thought of what you want job seekers to apply in. Because I think it's so easy just to be like, okay, well, my resume doesn't need spicing up. I'll just add this recent history and send it out again. Take a look. Does it need a photo? Does it need refreshing? Have you learned a new skill set that you could shine, in your new, because in a lot of tech resumes, there is a section where it says skill sets, right? And
Yeah.
some give a
Yeah.
bar rating of, hey, how proficient are you in X, Y, and Z? If you don't throw that new talent in there, they're gonna be like, oh, well, they don't have the new thing that we're working on. I'm gonna pass them up. And so, you know, the one click apply for applicants has, in my opinion, has ruined uh, applying for candidates, right? It has made people lazy. It has
Yep.
made them comfortable with just, oh, this is a senior product manager position. That's what I currently do. I'm just going to go ahead and apply for it.
Yeah.
Even though they don't look at it, it's something completely different. And they're like, oh, well, why did I get rejected? Well, did you read the job description? So, my advice on that, sorry, long tangent, is take time. If you see a job that you want, look at the job and then look at your resume and literally go line by line. Like, okay, do I check all these boxes? And if you don't check the boxes, create your resume, with actual facts that you can do this job. And yeah, you know what? Applying for this job might take you 30 minutes. It might
Yeah.
take you 45 minutes because then you might be like, I really should rewrite my summary, right? To cater this job because I really want to go work for this company. I really want this job. And guess what? Your chances go up significantly in my eyes when I read a resume going, yes, 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 yes. Oh, heck yeah. Let's get this guy in let's get this person in the interview process. Um, I think resume building is one thing people need to focus more on is making sure that you're not just, spraying and praying. You
Yeah.
know, don't be afraid to have I have two or three resumes. One's more sales focused, one's more recruiter focused, one's more operational focused, right? And so, do I lie on any of them? No, but it's different aspects of what I can provide to your company that when you read it, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, this guy's resume is so much different than the 100 that I've looked at today for this specific job, right? Let's get him in because it shows that you take time and attention into detail, which is going to transition into your work. Um, Sorry, I know that was a
No,
tangent
no.
ramble,
I
but
love that.
take
I love
time on
that,
your
Jordan.
resume. Don't just pass by on your resume. Take some thought, put some pride into it.
Jordan, can I tell you what drives me absolutely nuts on resumes is, and I mean everybody's going to think differently about a resume, so there's
Sure.
not one perfect way, but I can't stand like the objective section at the top. If
Yes.
people put an objective section,
Yes.
but the reason why I don't really like that section in general is it's typically like the like I want this and I want that, and it's
Yeah.
it's all about me as the candidate. It's like their candidates are missing the whole point. The resume,
Hmm.
yeah, it's your story, it's your brand, but it's not about you. It's about like the problem that you're going to solve for that company.
Yeah.
That's what you as a recruiter are looking for, or what a company, a hiring manager is looking for. It's like, how can this person solve the problem that I have? And it's
Yeah.
like, I want this, I want that. It's like, well, that's great that you want those things, but I don't really care.
Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah.
So, it's figuring out like what can you put in that place that's going to help solve their problem.
Yeah. It's funny that when I was single and dating, I saw people put more thought into a dating profile than they would their own resume. And I'm like, like why can't you just take that much pride in your resume and,
Yeah.
apply to 10 jobs with 10 quality resumes that you have a very high chance than just going apply, 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 apply.
Yeah.
It's never going to work out for you in the long run. At the end of the night, when you put your head on that pillow, you should be confident that the jobs that you looked at and applied for, you have a very high chance of getting an interview, to say the least. And the effort that you put in, I've always been a firm believer in what you put out there in the universe will give. Um, the more effort and thought you put into your own resume, it's going to cut down your time of finding a new position quick, in my opinion.
So you also mentioned kind of you've got multiple different resumes. You've got,
Hmm.
maybe more of a sales focused one, etc. So how can you help job seekers think about how they should position their resumes? What
Sure.
will give them the clues that they need to be successful in how they should craft their resume?
Sure. So I use a website called Nuevo Resume.
Okay.
That you just go to like a resume website. There's hundreds out there that can help you build a custom resume. They have templates, right? They have more sales focused, they have engineering focused, they have executive focus, right? And they give you the templates and they give you keywords into what it is that you should be applying for. And yeah, I paid $20 a month for it until I found a job, but it helped me land a job that I wanted.
Yeah.
Um, So go to a website that helps you build your resume and take their advice, pay the money. It's worth it. My resume before that was a Word applicate, was from Word, and it was so plain Jane and boring that now as a recruiter, I'm like, oh, that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Um, so, don't be afraid to spend the money. Go to a website and, they'll help you cater your resume to whatever industry is you're in.
Well, you said that you've already looked at maybe 100 plus resumes today. Like you're probably going through resumes so fast. Like
Yeah.
how are people gonna be able to stand out? That's super
Yeah.
important. So
And I think, one of the things that people need to understand is it need you kind of almost need to think of it as how's a recruiter going to view my profile compared to the job. All my friends that I've helped, offline, it's just, hey, dude, you need to think of how I'm going to review your resume. If I can't see the 5 or 6 needed skill sets for this DevOps job in the first 20 seconds of looking at your resume, I'm probably not going to continue looking at it.
yeah.
And he's like, oh, I guess I never thought of it that way. I was like, because my friend, I view hundreds of resumes a day and I don't have time to sit there and read and proofread and, view the whole thing. We scan very quick through jobs. And, if we don't see within the first 20, 25 seconds, most of what we want to see, unfortunately, it's on to the next.
Well, that's the funny thing, right? Is I look at the job description as the answers to the test. Like
Hmm.
the answers to the
Yeah.
test of how to get an interview are in the job description.
Yep.
There's breadcrumbs left in. You know, job descriptions, most of them suck. Like, let's face it, most of
Yeah.
job descriptions, you've got a lot of fluff in there that's trying to kind of help make that job description look good. But there are really key important pieces, like you're saying, like if you know what those are and then you adjust your
Mhm.
resume to show those things, you're going to be much better positioned to hopefully
Yeah.
get the interview that you're looking for. But
Yeah.
that happens a lot, whether it's even you might get an employer referral, like, hey, I've got this great referral, they're going to apply, and then they come and apply to the role, and it's like, you don't meet any of the qualifications that we're
Yeah.
looking for, and you're an employer for, like, that's probably one of the biggest challenges in talent acquisition. I guess that's a whole
Yeah.
nother probably podcast. It's like, I would love to help your employer referral put their best foot forward, but if they
Yeah.
don't qualify for the job, or they don't position themselves, they don't share their story of why they do qualify for the job, they're never ever going to get that job.
Yeah. It's like, would you show up to a first date in sweats and your weekend t-shirt and your slides, right? Like you're ready for Saturday morning coffee and just kind of
Yeah.
relax. And like, would you take that attitude to a first date? Of
Yeah.
course not, right? You'd get all that. You'd probably go buy a new shirt, right? So
Yeah.
put that thought and effort into your resume. And it's funny how fast things start clicking for those people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Jordan, I love this advice. What about, let's say, okay, you've done your prep work, you've built a great resume, and
Mhm.
that leads to getting that first interview. What are
Yeah.
you what are you seeing that job seekers are stumbling over in that interview process
Yeah.
that you would, give them advice on?
Here's interview prep is key in my opinion, right? In this day and age, right? COVID's made us really refocus because my answer in 2018 when we were all doing face-to-face interviews would be completely different than what it is now. Um, Actually look up the company, right? As crazy as that is to say, I know I said it about, resume building is actually update your resume, but just know who you're interviewing with. You need to plan out your day. If you're unemployed, you need to plan out your day if you have a bunch of interviews like you're working a 9 to 5. If I know that NICE's interviews at 10, I should be doing some research from 9 to 9:45 about the company, things they're doing, um, what it is they do, right? Like
Yeah.
that's just crazy to me that people go, so tell me about NICE. I'm like, well, what interests you about working with NICE? And I'm like, do you even know what we do? And they're like, I really don't know what it is you guys do. I've never heard of you before. And I'm like, but yet you applied and you want us to give you money, but yet you
Crazy.
can't, I don't expect like a 30-minute PowerPoint of like, oops, slide A, right? This is what NICE does. 10 seconds, just in my mind as a candidate interviewer, have a 10 to 20-second interview pitch about what it is that they do, right? Like, hey, this is what you guys do. You guys make customer experience software for a wide different range of, for a wide different range of opportunities. And so just actually learn about the company real quick. And then, 15 minutes prior to that, gather yourself, take a look in the mirror, make sure you look your best. Um, Log on to the meeting 5 minutes prior. Make sure your microphone works. Make sure this is charged because half the time this dies halfway throughout my day because I'm on it so much.
Sure.
Um, is the position the best? Is the best. This is another tip that I think for interview prep that I want to kind of transition to is, one of my previous jobs, I was always in Park City and I was so busy that I didn't actually have time. And if the company was small and that if I was like, hey, I need to go back home for a few hours, I'm going to work from home, the CEO would be like, why? Like, why are you leaving? Right. And so I had to do interviews on my lunch break, unfortunately. And so a lot of people take interviews from their phone, right? And so which is fine. I don't care what platform you take it on.
Sure.
Just make sure this is the biggest peeve of mine when taking an interview. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to demonstrate. They're taking their interview like this, and I feel like I need Dramamine to complete this interview, right? You've had these. You're laughing because
Oh
you've
my
had these.
gosh. Yes.
Set the phone down. It's not that hard to do. I don't want to see a tour of your apartment as we're giving this interview. Like, just, hey, that's what I'm saying. Prep, set it up somewhere. Make sure that, it's ready to go. If you don't take it from your computer, take it from your phone. Don't hold your phone while you're interviewing because I don't want to feel like I'm on the seven seas on a cruise ship. I don't want to feel like I'm rocking at the end of this interview. You know what I mean?
Gosh, like I always bring up the phrase, just like the hygiene factor. It's kind of what you're
Yes.
talking about dating, but it's like, I'm not going to go out in public if I haven't put my deodorant on, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to go out in public if I, haven't showered or brushed my teeth or done my hair or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's just like, these are just very basic, simple, and it's preparation.
Yeah.
It's being organized, it's being
Yep.
prepared, it's being ready. Like,
Yep.
those are some of the most important things you can do. Like,
Yeah.
just the hour before you're going to jump on a Zoom interview or you're going to be in an in-person interview, whatever it is, make sure that you have that hour buffer. Maybe you need more, maybe you
Yeah.
need 2 hours to prepare, but make
Yeah.
sure all these hygiene factor things are in
Right.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So it leads to a few things, right? So from the beginning for interview preps, look at the company, make sure you're set up, ready to go, right? No matter what setup it is you have, make sure it's quiet. I don't care if it's in your car. I've had people go, hey, I apologize. I have to take this from my car because I'm at work and I don't want to like
Yeah.
be weird. And I'm like, that's totally fine. I don't care. But just be prepared because we can tell same thing can happen in the car. They can hold their phone and
Yeah.
it gets me seasick. But just, but other than that is, throughout the rest of the interview, ask thoughtful questions. Don't give me so what, what's the benefit? What are the benefits like, right? I have no problem sending you the benefits and I have no problem discussing the benefits. Give me 4 to 5 questions that you've actually sat and thought about that are like, okay, hey, what are some of the things that this team struggles with, right? I'm hiring a DevOps manager. What are some of the things that this team is currently struggling with as their manager that I could help step in and fill? Or is there any issues, right? Or what goals would you like me as a manager to accomplish before the end of the year? Um, Thought-provoking questions go a long way as a recruiter and with the hiring manager because it shows that you're invested and that you're engaged. Nothing's worse than like, hey, so what questions do you have for me or the hiring manager? No, I'm good. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Um, all right. Well, right. Are you just like wanting to end this? Are you just wanting to end this so you can be on to the next interview?
Right. Right.
Or, so,
Or it's
kind
like,
of,
hey, Jordan,
yeah.
like, how long have you been at Nice? And it's like, did you not look at my LinkedIn profile? Like, it'll
Yeah.
clearly tell you, like, I've been here for a year and 8 months or
Yeah.
whatever the
Just,
time is. Like, don't ask
yeah.
questions that you can find the answers to on your own. If
Yes.
you do,
Yes.
like, some people say no question is a dumb question. Yes, there are dumb questions, and
Thousand
don't
percent.
ask them.
Yes. 1,000%. Yeah. I really like follow-up notes, right? At the end of the interview, I love it when people email me, right? As recruiters, we get thousands of LinkedIn messages a day. I can't tell, I probably have so many unread messages that's terrible to admit, but like you get so many, when you post jobs on LinkedIn, you get people across the entire world, hey, I'm interested in your job. And unfortunately, I don't have time to read, 586 messages through LinkedIn when I have 1,000+ emails coming in all day and interviews all day, right? And so shoot me an email. Hey Jordan, can I get your email and can I get the hiring manager's email? I wanted to send you guys a thank you. A few hours later, gather some thoughts on it, reflect on how the interview went. Doesn't need to be long. Hey, 4 to 5 sentences. I really appreciated the time you guys gave me.
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z really interests me about the opportunity. I would love to, hopefully explore a possible offer with you guys. I could see myself succeeding there. And don't be afraid to be confident about it. You know,
Yes.
if you give actionable reasons on why you're excited to work there, in their minds, they're like, wow, this guy really is detailed, or sorry, this person's really detailed. Um, it goes a long way with me with the thank you note. Small things matter as a recruiter that make you stand out.
So Jordan, you mentioned confidence. Tell me and tell, the viewers a bit more about why it's super important to be confident through the interview process.
That's a fantastic point you brought out. There's a difference between arrogance and confidence.
Yeah.
Um, I tend to interview a lot of directors. The positions that I work on here at NICE are usually managers, directors, and above. And so that level of title typically floats the arrogance, confidence level. Hate to say it, but we've all met a leader out there that has their nose up to the ceiling. They're better than everybody, right? We've all worked with them in the past. You know who they
Yep.
are. There's a difference of being confident and being arrogant. And what I mean by that is arrogant people, I always think arrogant people have cotton balls stuffed in their ears, right? They only want to listen to their voice. They don't want to hear anything else. They're raised the white way. People that are confident they know their abilities and they aren't afraid to express them. Like, hey, I can do this for you in ways of X, Y, and Z. And I'd really appreciate an opportunity to try to, prove myself to your organization that I could be a great asset. I could rephrase that sentence in a super arrogant way, right? To where it has a whole different meaning and a whole different tone when you
Yeah.
receive the thank you note. And so confidence is going to transition your entire interview process from the phone screen to the hiring manager interview, right? Hey, sit up, put on a nice button up shirt, right? Like shower, do your hair. Last 4 days applying at jobs doesn't mean you shouldn't get ready for the interview, right? Like make yourself look presentable, even though they're not, you guys can't tell if I'm wearing shorts right now, right? But I'm wearing pants. Don't worry. I got ready because I wanted to have confidence for this podcast, right? I could have easily worn a flannel and my gym shorts and no one would have known. But I took the time to get ready for the day as if I was going to the office because that put me in the mindset of being confident. I took the steps necessary to put my mental mindset there.
I think that's super helpful. I'm trying to think about the people that have that higher level of arrogance, and even if they were to listen to the podcast, would they realize that they were arrogant
Right?
or not? You know what I mean? It's like,
They wouldn't have made it this far, Jeremy. They wouldn't have
no,
made it
they
this
wouldn't
far.
have.
10,
They're like,
10
I've
minutes
got
ago,
this.
they'd have been off.
I've got this. I don't need
Yeah.
interview help.
I,
That's kind of
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. Like, I guess everybody, to some degree, it's like, just ask yourself the question, like, can I be a little bit more humble? Can I
Mhm.
listen a little bit more? Can I, like,
So,
everybody has
yeah,
opportunity.
we recently acquired a company in Park City called Atlas RTX, and I'm going to give Sam and his crew, Mike, and everyone a shout out. And um, they've been fantastic to work with. But Sam actually used to work for us a long time ago, went and started his own thing, and now we purchased him, and now we're back together. And their company culture is actually pretty awesome. They review candidates on 4 things. They call the 4 H's: the happy, humble, hungry, and horsepower. Right?
Wow.
And are you happy? Show up happy to the interview. Like
Yeah.
you can't be a bump on the log. And they're like, so are you a happy person? You're like, well, I guess so. I think I could be, right? They're going to be like, nope. You know, humble, hungry, and horsepower. It's cool because when we've been working with them since January, it's really made me reevaluate how I see candidates behind the scenes, right? Because my cogs are turning as a phone screen's going off, and I'm picking up social cues, on the video chat. And it's funny that kind of change your mindset as a candidate. So, yeah, maybe I never thought about actually talking about this during the podcast, but make sure you're happy. You're hungry. You can prove you can do the job, right? You're humble enough to do the job, to take advice, to be able to listen and take guidance. And do you have the horsepower to get the job done? Um,
Yeah.
those kind of 4 H's really should be kind of in the back of your mind when you're presenting yourself in an interview to your prospective employer.
I love that. I've never heard the four H's before, but now I kind of want to steal
Yeah.
that and use it because I think those are
Yeah.
amazing things to
Jump
focus
onto
on.
their website and go to the About Us section. It's atlasrtx.com. Go to the About Us section. You can learn all about them. But yeah, their company culture is pretty cool.
Yeah, simple and impactful. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Well, Jordan, like you've given really great advice. I like one thing that I'd hope to ask you that's maybe a little bit more personal for you
Sure.
is, you've progressed in your career, had a lot of different great opportunities. How have you done it? Like what has been the secret sauce for you to navigate getting jobs and getting you to
Yeah.
where you are today?
I think it goes back to taking the time into reflecting on your own brand, right? Not just using a generic resume. My skill sets are different from your skill sets, right? Do we probably have 7 out of 10 between you and I that cross function for sure, right? And so, how can I put my own brand out there and what makes me different from all the other recruiters looking for a job? What makes me special? And it's okay to reflect on yourself and to be happy for yourself and to be your own cheerleader, right? Because at the end of the day, if no one's there with you, you're your own cheerleader. There's going to be no one cheering for you. And so I think one of the things that's been my key to success is, this may sound weird, but just really caring for myself and caring about where I want to be. And then telling myself, you need to push and never settle and, be consistent. In my job, consistency is the fastest way to sniff out a recruiter if they're good or not.
Mm,
If they take on 10 jobs, um, if you can't be consistent in your job, it's going to be sniffed out really quick, whether you can do a job or not. And so, I think personally what's made me successful is a lot of self-reflection, reading, podcasts. I'm currently on Extreme Ownership right now,
okay.
and I love that
It's a
book,
good,
right?
that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
I love that one. I recently had a situation where some, I could have teetered, I could have had it taken the situation a different way than what it could be. And, I chose to own the situation, and it actually ended up working out in my favor more than a direction that I could have taken it, right. And the other direction wasn't lying and versus being honest. It was just, I took it and I held my ground on a stance, and the favor in general worked out for me. And I think what's made me successful is just, being honest, always being able to look in the mirror, not willing to settle for, basic performance, and just showing up. Showing up's half the battle. You can listen to all the podcasts you want on the way to work, but if you don't implement what you listen to or like what you would like to do, you're just always going to come up short. And I think that's one thing that I've always tried to do. And we all have our bad weeks. We all have our bad days. There's days where I don't want to recruit, right? I like don't want to see that I have 9 phone screens today because I was just kind of hoping for a light day where I could just look through resumes and be in my feelings. But you got to kick those to the right. You got to kick those
Yeah,
to the side because we all
you
have
do.
bad days. No matter what position you hold in the entire world, we all have bad days. And you just got to put your big boy pants on, and you just have to do it, right? I have to tell myself that the person on the other end of this screen, it's not their fault that I'm having a bad day. So I take 5 minutes, I prepare myself, I get in a better mindset, and I give that candidate the interview they deserve. And you know that's just a little bit about what I do and why I think I've been successful. And you know I always me personally, I always feel like I'm not doing enough, which keeps me chasing more. I feel when people get a taste of winning, they either do two things: they slow down because they've had short-term success, or they get, okay, great, let's close that one, let's move on. And they're always feeling like they're not doing enough, and there's always more to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference between what I do and probably what some other people do is I don't get like a small taste of a bunch of victories and then coast. It's like, great, let's go crush some more. Sorry, that's welcome to my TED talk, but
No,
that's
I
a little bit about why I think I'm successful.
I like that. And what it reminds me of is I think about like Kmart back in the 80s. They were like the king of retail at that time. They were crushing it. They were doing really great. And Walmart wasn't even really, at the table yet.
Yeah,
But starting to get there. But Kmart then started to just kind of rest on their laurels, and they stopped innovating, and they stopped because they got that taste of victory, and they're like, oh, we're
Hmm.
good. Yeah, nothing can stop us. We're the greatest.
Yeah.
And then Walmart came in and, started focusing in on logistics and distribution and figuring out how to do things better and continue to innovate and innovate and innovate, and just ate Kmart's lunch, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. You'd think, well, there's no way that Kmart could ever, and that they're gone.
Yeah.
They don't even exist. They're gone. So
Yeah.
I just kind of relate that back to what you're saying in terms of in your career, like you have to continue to innovate. As soon as you taste victory, it's like, cool, like that's great that you tasted it, but you've got to push harder and you've got to stretch
Yeah.
yourself further, or you'll get stagnant and
Yes.
you'll become irrelevant, and you got to figure out how to stay on top of that. And I love that that's one of your strengths that you bring
Yeah.
to the table. And I think if people come back and listen through this podcast and take away 3 to 5 things, like there's way more than that
Yeah.
you've provided today, but like 3 to 5 things or 2 things, take 2 things and then
Yeah.
take action on them.
Yeah.
You're going to be 1,000% more effective in your job search than
Yeah.
if you were just to listen to this and just be like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to keep doing what I always do.
Yeah. I think one of the things that if I could kind of wrap it all up into one, and people can feel free to ping me on LinkedIn, right? Shoot me a message and, just say, hey, would love more advice. I give it away for free, right? I shouldn't charge, like we don't charge for any of this. It's just helping people
Yeah.
get off their feet and get, back in the workplace. I'd be happy to share any other things or talk about more things with anyone offline if they ever want to. So, feel free to reach me on LinkedIn, but, you know, less is more when it comes to the interview process and looking at your own brand. I would rather go to bed at night, like I said, knowing that I applied to 10 quality jobs that I have a 75% chance of getting a phone screen with and a 25% chance of landing a job, then I just sat there and went click, 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 and just applied to 100 jobs with a basic resume and hoping that, someone along the way views me more valuable than someone else. Right. And so when you're out there looking for a job, take your time, go on a website builder, that creates your resume, sit back and reflect on what it is you actually do. Like reread your summary, even though we don't like it, right? Reread it if you have one and be like, is that actually me today?
Yeah.
And what do I want to do later, right? And is my skill sets actually up to date, right? And reword the, reword the bullet points in each job. Um, Take your time and just put a lot of thought into it because at the end of the day, less is more in the eyes of recruiters because we'd rather see someone who takes time than someone who rushes through their resume. And for hell's sakes, it's not even up to date. You've been out of work for 8 months. You've been out of work for 8 months and you didn't even bother updating it. Like you didn't even look at your resume. You just pulled it off your desktop and went, great. Let's start sending out applications. Like, come on, man. Like
Yeah.
just take some time, put a little bit of love into it, put some pride into yourself and start applying for jobs. It's not that hard of a concept to comprehend.
Yeah.
Um, but it's funny because people need to hear it. And so, you know, yeah, that's in a nutshell, less is more, in my opinion, when applying to jobs. Don't apply to hundreds. Apply to 20 that you got a good shot at.
Exactly. So Jordan, Nice is hiring right now.
Oh
You
yes.
guys have a bunch of jobs open. Anything you want to share on that front that would be helpful for
Oh,
job
for
seekers?
sure. Every single department that we're at is hiring. A lot of stuff that I interview for is engineering, product, tech support. That's kind of my wheelhouse. But in the Sandy office, we have everybody, right from finance to marketing, HR, um, software engineers. We literally have every single department open right now. And one of the things that I really appreciate about Nice, and I'm going to give a little plug again for my company, is when COVID kind of hit, Nice really took a financial decision on being like, okay, where can we still hire and grow and still service our clients to the best of our abilities, to make sure they're getting the world-class customer service they deserve? And where's that number of floating in between like hiring and still being able to achieve that goal without over hiring to where then we got to do layoffs and we got to let other people go, right? And I know there's other business factors that kind of go into, layoffs, but Nice has really positioned us well because as a talent acquisition professional, I typically work 25 recs a quarter, 25 to 30 a quarter. I'm only currently working on like 15 to 20. And so, they really positioned us well to all the positions that we're opening are budgeted for. They're ready to rock and roll. So like we want our employees to feel stable. They don't have to go home at night being like, oh God, that manager meeting that he scheduled Friday at 2 o'clock, is that a layoff? We want our
Yeah,
employees to feel we don't even want that to be the forefront of their thoughts. And so,
that's awesome.
Nice has really made it to where, you know, um, all the positions that we have open on our website are budgeted for and they're ready to rock and roll. So, yeah, it's just nice.com/careers. And you can filter by department, by region in the world. If this podcast reaches, which I know it will with your shining face, right? You'll be worldwide. You'll be worldwide before you know it. But we have positions all over the world. So, yeah, we're still hiring.
So what you're telling me, Jordan, is there's jobs in every single category, and me as a job seeker, I should apply to every single one of those jobs with my generic resume, with no prep, with no advanced
Yes.
thought, and I am going to be super successful. Like I'm sure that's the message you're trying to get across.
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
job seekers, please don't do that. Please don't do that. Just because there's a lot of jobs there doesn't mean that you're a
Yeah.
fit for all those jobs. Like there's probably a job there for you as a
Yes.
job seeker, but figure out which one that truly
Yes.
is. Be realistic with yourself
Yes.
and put your best foot forward, and you're going to have a much better
And
option.
and one thing that this might be TMI, but like uh we can see how many jobs people apply for at our company, right? And if you're applying for a tech support manager and then a product manager and then an FP&A analysis, I'm like, there's no way you can do any of those, right? Like that's where I'm saying be specific because you might have done tech support 15 years ago, but now you're in product. But dude, tech support is so much different than what it was when you're back in the day. But you've spent 15 years in product. Like, why would you? So yeah, be just applied a few jobs. Yes, you hit
Yeah.
it. You hit it right on the head.
Yeah. You can actually, I mean, just tarnish your brand. Again, we're talking about
Yeah.
brand and making
Yes.
sure that that's the best it can be. And if you're one of those frequent flyers that has applied to every single job,
Yes.
that's not a good look for your brand. So
No.
anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
love it.
we don't have enough data saved up in Zoom for me to continue talking. So I'll stop talking.
No, Jordan, you're awesome. Like I think people definitely need to be following you on LinkedIn. I love
I
your
appreciate it.
posts. You had a great Bart Simpson post on there the other day that got a lot of views and a lot of likes
Yeah.
and comments. Um, but it's good quality content that will
Thank
help
you.
job seekers be successful. So keep doing that, and thanks again for being on the show. And hopefully we get you
Of course,
on the show again later down the road.
bro. I'd be happy to anytime. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordan.